Joining us now, Congressman Mo Brooks, a Republican from Alabama who is a member of the House Freedom Caucus and sits on the House Armed Services Committee. It's hard to believe this is actually happening, but it really is. I mean, 2 meetings in 1 week, possibly a third. Kim Jong-Chol is likely to convey Pompeo. Kim Jong-un is serious about the summit. They're also going to discuss the contents, apparently, of a joint statement to be issued at its end. What kind of joint statement do you expect to come from these two?
Well, I hope that the joint statement will basically initially work out the logistics of this summit, not only the logistics, the security, the things that have to be implemented so that the leaders of North Korea and the United States of America can satisfactorily accomplish their goal. And in that vein, quite frankly, what President Trump is doing is a breath of fresh air. It's been a long time since there's been this kind of reach out to the North Korean leadership, and if that is successful, then who knows? Peace may break out on the Korean Peninsula. That would be great for that region of the world and also be great for the United States of America.
Yeah, it is great. And while these talks are a positive sign, let's remember reality here and the history of North Korea and why they cannot be trusted. The outgoing head of U.S. Pacific Command, Admiral Harry Harris, reminds us all. He's also the president's pick to be the ambassador to South Korea. He says North Korea remains America's most imminent threat. Let's not forget, back in September, they tested a hydrogen bomb, supposedly successfully. So here's a thought. Shouldn't weapons inspectors be part of these talks? And shouldn't a deal include North Korea allowing them in to confirm they actually did, in fact, permanently destroy their nuclear facilities?
Well, President Reagan had it right when he was referring to the Soviet Union and other geopolitical foes around the United States. He said, trust but verify. And it's one thing to enter into an agreement to denuclearize the Korean Peninsula. It's another thing to have enough confidence that that is in fact what has transpired. So at some point there's going to have to be some kind of verification methodology in order to ensure that all parties to this agreement are abiding by the terms of that agreement. So I'm very comfortable with North Korea verifying that we, the United States of America, South Korea, to the extent South Korea is involved, that we're complying with those terms. At the same time, we need a similar verification to ensure that the North Koreans are complying with their end of the agreement.
I wonder if Kim Jong-un truly understands who's driving this train, because after meeting with Kim Jong-un last week, South Korean President Jaein, in fact, said that Un is unsure whether he can trust President Trump's promise to provide a security guarantee if North Korea abandons its nuclear weapons. I mean, North Korea is afraid it can't trust us. Is that a problem? Do you see that as a bit of an issue?
Well, if it's an executive type of agreement, as President Obama had with Iran, that agreement is only good for the term of the presidency. And so if it's that kind of agreement, I can understand the hesitancy of the North Korean leadership. On the other hand, if we actually do something bold, like have a treaty that ends the Korean conflict, which is still technically ongoing. We have a ceasefire, not a treaty that puts a permanent end to it. And that treaty is ratified by the United States Senate. Well, that binds the United States of America as a country and as a government to adhere to the terms. And I hope that if we're able to put into place a treaty with North Korea, preferably also including South Korea, that we will achieve one of 3 major goals. One is the denuclearization of North Korea. Another one is peace between South and North Korea, preferably long-term, some kind of mutual agreement where those 2 people can reunite as one family again. And then finally, us in America having enough confidence in peace that we can bring our soldiers home.
Yeah, I mean, the president is not obviously going into this blind-eyed. He knows the history here. He knows the trust factor. Speaking of trust, and Kim Jong-Chol, he's the high-level North Korean official. He's 72 years old, first person from North Korea at his senior of a level since 2000. He's the vice chairman of the ruling Workers' Party, for a little background. He actually previously headed North Korea's military intelligence agency. He was also believed to be behind 2 attacks in 2010. Those attacks killed 50 South Koreans, and a 2014 cyber attack on Sony Pictures. This is who we are supposed to trust to have good intentions for South Korea?
Well, that's all the more reason why we need to work out an agreement where we look at the interests of North Korea, South Korea, and the United States of America, and we try to come up with an agreement that meets the interests of all 3 countries, and that we reach some kind of satisfactory accord that puts this kind of activity behind us. certainly North Korea's people can do much better than they have as they divert scarce resources to a buildup of a military. If there's no longer a threat in their minds, and at the same time, if they no longer have a desire to invade South Korea, that frees up a lot of resources that can be used to improve the lives of the North Koreans, and for that matter, make more secure the North Korean government, and hopefully where they don't have to engage in some of the rather barbaric tactics that they have engaged in the past, not only outside of North Korea, but with respect to their own people. So there are ways that everybody can mutually agree and profit from this, and I hope that President Trump is able to cobble together an agreement that achieves some of those major goals that I outlined earlier.
I want to read in between the words here, because we're not getting a lot from the White House. Mike Pompeo saying not much other than he had a good dinner meeting in New York. The president tweeting this morning, very good meetings with North Korea, but that's about all we're getting. I'm wondering how volatile the upcoming summit is and why we're getting less this time around after perhaps National Security Advisor John Bolton made his Libya model comments, which, as you know, broke down previous talks, if they're approaching it a little differently this time.
Well, this is a rather unique situation. Bear in mind, we go all the way back to President Eisenhower, and every president since then has not been able to enter into a lasting peace agreement with North Korea. The United Nations has not been able to, and the United Nations was a major player during the Korean conflict. So I think it's important for everybody to tamp down a little bit the expectations of the various parties. Hopefully, we can enter into a series of negotiations that will consummate in the reaching of our three major goals. Now, if we can do it in one meeting, that's outstanding. But understanding the relationship of South Korea, North Korea, and the United States of America, that might be a rather high bar. But still, if we can start building a relationship, which President Trump seems committed to doing, then over time, we can assuage the fears of everybody involved and appeal to the self-interest of everybody involved with a plan that works to everybody's mutual agreement. President Trump is a master deal maker. I hope he's able to pull off what no prior president has been able to do.
So far, they've already pulled off what no prior president has been able to do, but we're going to have to see if it continues. But that is all the time we have. Congressman Mo Brooks, great to see you. Thank you.